Hey, my name is Marco. I love talking about music from an emotional perspective after a decade on the stage, and today we're going to be listening to Dandadan opening, Otonoke by Creepy Nuts. I'm really curious about this. I have heard this before, but I've never sat down and actually thought about what all of it meant. So let's check this out, shall we? So before we get into the thick of this, there's a couple really cool details in here, and I don't actually know what Dandadan's about. I quickly glanced at the Crunchyroll description talking about something about mediums, but actually you can hear it. So I don't know if this is actually like words or if it's just like a phrase or something. You can actually hear a little bit of ghostliness here. Listen to the background. All we're doing is just sliding up and down the scale here. There's a bit of off-kilterness, and then it's really interesting too, vocally, is that here we're actually pressing dun-da-dun, 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 and then we're launching into the chorus, but it's really cool how right in here you can hear how it thrusts into a little bit of pressing. Right there, hear that? Hear that? So something worth thinking about is, first of all, I wish I had a translation for what they're saying, but one of the really cool things about this particular piece is it's a little bit freaky and a little bit funky and a little bit just off kilter. And based on what I've come to understand about Dandadan is that that's actually a normal process and something that's very common in this particular show. I haven't watched it. I don't know really anything about it, but you can hear how the words themselves have a bit of an aggression behind them mixed in with the sound effect that creates a feeling of being off kilter. And I don't really feel like we can really grab onto a melody because there isn't one. This is really about expressing an emotion really quickly, really efficiently, and getting directly to the point. And a little bit of weirdness that's really coloring that is with that background information. There's like an inherent tension in that, which I think really comes through really efficiently. It's very visceral, it's very in your face, and it's very like abrupt and direct, which I find really interesting. If you think about the way that the lyrics are being sung and expressed, especially the text, it's very guttural, it's very spit in the front of the mouth. It's very, very like we're not slipping up, we're not tripping over our words. There's a real sense of drive in that, and it bites really hard, which I think is really interesting because it's almost like violent in the way that it's produced. It's really cool. So this is interesting because I'm pretty sure based on like little clips I've seen that the main character is a girl, and so this I think really represents her, like her playfulness, her femininity, her presence in the world. There's a bit of it's a real shift, and it's not, I would say it's kind of subtle but not really. There's a real feeling in that of, especially because we're repeating hi-da-da, 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 da-da-dum-da-da-da. It's within the structure of that rap, but it's almost like it resets, and it's really about like, look at this loving child. Look at this kid. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's a coming of age story, but there's a real feeling of like, there you are. You know what I mean? Like, there she is. There she is. She's the pretty princess or something. You know what I mean? I like that it's still fluid in its rhythm and it's still really fast verbally, but we do it in a way that is slowed down, a little bit more elegant, a little bit pulled back on the voice, a little bit more gentle. And then obviously we move into this part. And then that's the other thing. In the background, the guitar, that to me, I don't know, there's a weird degree of sensuality in this music. It really, really feels like a coming of age story. Now we see that a lot in anime. We see that a lot in, certainly Studio Ghibli movies. There's a lot of that sense of like coming to age and becoming a woman or growing into friendships that you have, or I don't know, but the femininity is really, really the threading the needle there of that, especially with this. I really, really like the accents in the background. Again, the sort of rap mechanics in there are interesting because there's almost two different personalities. There's this harsh, brutal, almost violent soundscape. And then in here, we have much more of lyrical singing. There's a melody line. There's re-emphasizing that beautiful, warm guitar, electric guitar. And there's a sense of femininity, a sense of softness, of gentility. It's really interesting. And double harmony in there. And in this little section is more about like getting to something, going towards something. It feels like a determination. It feels like a focus. It feels like a drive. It feels like here I am and I'm going to continue to pursue this because I want this so badly. I really believe in this. And there's like a lot of heart in this section. There's a lot of like honesty. Like I really want to be with this person, or I really want to pursue this pursuit or whatever, you know. And that's a little clue too that there's a little bit of weirdness because it doesn't go dun 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 dun. It goes dun 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 dun. It's really playful, really warm. I think the juxtaposition between the first half, which is quite intense and very vocal, very focused, very driven, very on the edge of comfortable, into this really like playful, charming, sweet, almost innocent sound is quite nice. And it's a really fun juxtaposition between those two. And I think that that's really indicative of the characters, maybe relationships, maybe there's definitely an odds at play here thing that really comes together. Almost like I don't know. I mean, based on the opening that I saw, there's clearly like some sort of a love interest, but like what's the connection there? And I think that there's certainly two different things on display here, which is really cool. Anyway, feel free to like, subscribe, feel free to watch more videos. And as always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you later. Bye.